Hello and welcome. You're watching the SimHanger channel. My name's Mark, the SimHanger for all things flight sim related. When we fly, we principally use one of two methods, VFR or visual flight rules, and this is where we predominantly look out the window, picking up landmarks and features to guide us safely to our destination. And the second method is IFR or instrument flight rules, and we use this when visibility is poor or we're flying at altitude and can't use the ground as a reliable reference. The program that we're looking at today is designed to help us with the latter, instrument flight rules. But why would that be important? Why would you want to? Well, there's a number of reasons why this could be very useful to you. Perhaps in your simming you want to be able to fly in any type of weather, stay on course and still arrive safely at your destination. Or perhaps you're a pilot and you just want to refresh those IFR skills. Or perhaps even you want to fly online on VATSIM, IVAO or something like Pilot Edge, but you feel intimidated by the terminology and procedures such as SIDS and STARS and so on. Well, the program that we're going to be looking at today can help you with all that. Recently released for Microsoft Flight Simulator on PC is FS Academy's IFR. In simple terms, this is a collection of 11 standalone tutorials, each dealing with a specific aspect of IFR flight, with a 12th session which is a check ride where you can test and practice all your IFR skills. The modules have been produced by a real-world IFR pilot. The different modules or tutorials are built in a sequence so you build one skill on the next. But each tutorial is standalone so you can do them in any order that suits you. The IFR program mirrors a real instrument rating. And it doesn't matter whether your aircraft of choice is a Cessna 152 or the Dreamliner. Fundamentally the same rules apply so the skills are transferable. IFR from FS Academy is like having your own private instructor on call. And the price? Well, that varies depending where you buy it from. In the UK it's about £19.99. In the States at the moment the price varies due to Thanksgiving promos and is somewhere between 18 and 22 US dollars. It's currently available for purchase from the Sim Market, Just Flight, from flightsim.com store and also from Aerosoft. In the interests of transparency, I do need to say that FS Academy provided me with a review copy of IFR. However, all views and opinions expressed in this video are purely my own. Installing IFR into Microsoft Flight Simulator is standard fare. The download is a zip file. Unzip it, and then in the subdirectory, copy the FS Academy-IFR file to your community folder within Microsoft Flight Simulator. The zip file includes installation instructions and, most importantly, the IFR manual. The manual has a few pages dedicated to the basics of IFR, and then 2 to 3 pages for each of the 12 modules. Before embarking on one of the modules, it's highly recommended and indeed necessary that you read the appropriate pages applicable to that module. This will include an outline of what will be covered, as well as any charts or diagrams to aid understanding. The layout is simple and straightforward and the terminology easy to understand. Once the program is installed and Microsoft Flight Simulator is up and running, you need to go to the Activities folder. Click on that. And then from there we need to go to Bush Trips. Once we're in Bush Trips, we'll be able to see each of the 12 modules. They can be individually selected and selected in any order you wish. You don't have to complete Module 1 Basic IFR in order to go on to Module 2. I've already done a number of the modules, including Module 4, which was NDB and VOR tracking, using the G1000 instrumentation as opposed to the older steam gauges. I've still got some learning to do on the G1000 as I'm not totally familiar with that at the moment. But I needed to understand the basics so I can share with you one of the modules, and that's Module 9, Departures. The best way to assess the software is simply to do the modules. Here's the initial briefing. Before continuing, however, I feel it's important that I make the following points. In addition to any initial briefing and charts and other graphics, you are steered through each phase of each module by voice, and the triggers within the program are based on either location or time. And therefore it's important to understand that this program does have some limitations. For example, if you're instructed to turn left and you turn right, well, the program will not correct you. I found the same applied if you shortened or extended a particular leg. On the positive side, the verbal instructions are clear and frequent, so you're not likely to go wrong too easily. So whilst the limitations of the program are frustrating at times, it does not distract or hamper the learning process. The clear and frequent instructions work well. These limitations may be a result of restrictions and limitations within Microsoft's SDK. As the SDK functionality is extended over time, so developers will be able to build in more functionality into their program and update accordingly. So for Module 9, we're going to be flying a SID, a Standard Instrument Departure. And as we can see from the chart, it's the Barton 1 Tango, departing runway 27. We'll be departing in this Cessna 172, holding runway heading for 1.5 nautical miles before beginning a turn to 19 degrees. And we're to hold that heading until we hit the 81-degree radial from the Wallasey VOR. Minimum altitude is 3,000 feet and maximum is 4,000 feet by D10. We're then to fly that radial at an altitude of 4,000 feet until we reach Barton, or instructed otherwise by ATC. Let's get started.
Now that you've seen how to arrive at an airport on instruments, we'll demonstrate how to depart. Standard Instrument Departures, or SIDs, are an organised way of departing an airfield and beginning an IFR flight. Airports will have a wide selection of SIDs depending on runway in use, departure direction, and occasionally even for aircraft type. This will be a Barton 1 Tango departure, which takes us off Liverpool's runway 27, turning right and right again to track a radial from Wallasey VOR, climbing to 4,000 feet. To display the nav aids correctly, ensure that you can see the DME distance for India Lima Quebec, which is actually the ILS frequency, and set bearing 2 to Wallasey VOR. You may wish to set the altitude bug to 4,000 feet, as it's important not to climb any higher than this until cleared to do so by ATC. This is also stated on the chart. When you're ready with your avionics set, line up on runway 27.
Golf Alpha Charlie cleared for line-up and takeoff runway 27, wind 270 at 10.
So I've set my nav 1 to show the DME, and I've set up nav 2 Wallasey on the course needle as I'll need to turn. I've set the heading at 81 degrees. Now onto the runway and a rolling start as we've got clearance for takeoff.
Climbing straight ahead until your DME indicates 1.5 miles, climbing to altitude 4,000 feet.
Watching my nav 1 DME as I climb, maintaining runway heading.
Here is 1.5 DME, turn right to track 019. There's a westerly wind of around 10 knots, so applying 10 degrees of drift gives us a target rollout heading of 009. Use the G1000's magenta coloured track diamond to help you.
Not quite at 1.5 yet, it's 1.2 and adjusted my heading bug to 10 degrees. Now on 1.5, time to turn.
You should have started a right turn onto a heading of 009.
Yes sir, I have. I'm turning now. The constant reminders from the program help keep you on track.
Keep watching the CDI bar, and once it approaches centre, make a right-hand turn to intercept the 081 radial from Wallasey VOR.
Watching that green bar as it slowly moves closer to the centre. I'm going to start my turn just as it gets to the centre, perhaps just before. You need to keep your eye on it because it moves surprisingly quickly. I've started a gentle bank to the right as the needle gets closer to the centre, so I'll increase the degree of turn.
Keeping the CDI centred, continue to track the 081 radial.
I'm pretty much centered on the 081 radial. I'm still on track for the standard instrument departure. I've set my altitude indicator to 4,000 feet as a reminder of the maximum altitude allowed. I'm coming up on 3,600, so continuing to climb.
Remember to level off at 4,000 feet, which is this departure's initial climb altitude. You're never to climb above your initial altitude until cleared by air traffic control.
Now coming up onto my designated altitude of 4,000 feet. Not sure if this is cheating or not, but I'm going to use the autopilot and set it to alt, which is already set at 4,000 feet. Should be able to use my instruments. It's an instrument departure anyway. I'm making small heading adjustments as I go to keep the needle centered.
Golf Alpha Charlie, climb now to altitude 6,000 feet.
As instructed, climb now to an altitude of 6,000 feet.
I've dialed in an altitude of 6,000. Again, using the autopilot, I'm using vertical speed and nose up. And I'm going to go for an initial climb of between 400 and 500 feet per minute. The weather has closed in substantially and visibility is very much reduced. Definitely IFR flying conditions.
Still continuing on the 081 radial, maintain 6,000 feet.
I'm now leveling off at 6,000 feet and looking across at the other G1000 display, I can see I'm bang on track for Barton. So to me it looks like a successful standard instrument departure.
To complete the SID, we would continue on the 081 radial all the way to Barton. But that's the end of this lesson. Continue to fly if you wish, or press escape to exit.
IFR Academy have announced that they will be releasing a VFR package, again based on a modular structure as per the IFR package. Release is slated towards the end of 2020. My overall impression of IFR? Well, for me it gets an 8.75 out of 10. Recommended. I used to fly regularly online, but I must admit for the last 18 months or so I've done precious little, but I am keen to get back into it in the new year, and I'm going to use IFR Academy IFR and their upcoming VFR tutorials in order to refresh and hone my skills. Do you fly online? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you found this useful and informative. Take care, look after yourselves, and bye for now.